2:50 a.m. local time on March 19, 2026, a United States Air Force F-35 Lightning II was engaged over central Iran. This took place during the third week of the 2026 Iran war, as part of the air campaign known as Operation Epic Fury. Just 24 hours prior, the official stance from the White House characterized the F-35 as a symbol of decisive American power. U.S. officials, including Secretary Pete Hegseth, had claimed that the adversary's air defense network was effectively neutralized and that U.S. assets were winning decisively. That perception of total control was disrupted when the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps successfully struck the F-35 with an advanced defense system. The aircraft sustained significant damage and was forced to conduct an emergency landing at a regional military facility. March 19th marks the first recorded instance of a fifth-generation stealth fighter being successfully struck by enemy fire in a combat environment. While the pilot was reported in stable condition, the airframe's mission systems and stealth characteristics were unable to prevent the engagement. This single strike creates a disconnect between military rhetoric and operational reality. If a regional power can successfully engage the centerpiece of the NATO air strategy, the assumption that stealth acts as an absolute defense against modern threats must be reevaluated. The vulnerability exposed over Iran traces back to persistent technical delays in the F-35's Block 4 software upgrades. Block 4 is a major update intended to give the aircraft the processing power and coding required to launch modern, long-range munitions. Because of these software delays, the current F-35 fleet is unable to launch several types of long-range standoff missiles. Standoff missiles are weapons designed to be fired from a safe distance, well outside the reach of the enemy's defensive systems. This limitation forces pilots into forced proximity. Without long-range options, they must fly significantly closer to their targets, crossing directly into the kill zone of short-range defenses. As distance to a sensor decreases, even a stealthy aircraft becomes trackable by high-frequency systems. A software delay in the United States effectively neutralized the most advanced aerospace engineering in the world. It forced a $100 million asset to engage on the enemy's terms, within reach of their most basic defenses. Iran's defensive success relied on a layered architecture that integrated domestic technology with Russian-supplied systems. This starts with the Bavar 373, which uses the Mirage 4 phased array radar to detect targets at ranges of up to 300 kilometers. To find the F-35, the IRGC utilized a multi-static detection network. By placing transmitters and receivers in different geographic locations, the network illuminates the aircraft from multiple angles simultaneously, making the F-35's radar-deflecting geometry significantly less effective. Once the aircraft was tracked, the strike was likely carried out by the Majid AD-08, a short-range air defense system. Unlike traditional systems, the Majid utilizes passive electro-optical sensors to identify and track its targets. Because it is a passive system, it does not emit the radar signals that an F-35's radar warning receiver would typically detect. This meant the pilot was likely never alerted that the aircraft was being tracked by a ground-based system. The Majid launches an interceptor that uses an imaging infrared seeker to home in on the aircraft's heat signature. Despite measures to reduce its thermal profile, the heat from the F-35's engine remains a detectable signature, especially at close ranges. The Iranian strike demonstrated a critical blind spot in the Joint Strike Fighter program. An aircraft designed primarily to defeat X-band radar was left vulnerable to a silent network of passive infrared sensors. This chart highlights the economic risk of this engagement. A single F-35A airframe cost roughly $110 million when including support and infrastructure. The interceptors used to damage it likely cost less than $100,000. This gap in cost is part of a larger fiscal challenge. The GAO recently revised the F-35's projected life cycle cost upward to $2 trillion, driven by the extension of its service life to 2088 and soaring sustainment costs that the Air Force admits are currently unsustainable. This creates a condition known as fiscal asymmetry. An adversary uses low-cost munitions to destroy high-cost assets, bleeding the opponent's resources over time. In a prolonged conflict, the inability to sustain the production of expensive jets while the adversary fields cheap interceptors could lead to a strategic exhaustion of the U.S. air fleet. The Iranian strike validates the focus of peer rivals like China and Russia on multi-sensor detection. They have moved away from relying solely on radar, creating environments where low observability is increasingly mitigated by high-speed kinematics and passive sensors. China's Chengdu J-20 is designed for air dominance, utilizing a larger airframe that carries a heavier internal payload than the F-35. Recent reports indicate China has significantly increased the J-20's radar detection range by networking it with high-altitude airborne control platforms. Meanwhile, Russia's Sukhoi Su-57 prioritizes speed and agility over extreme stealth. It features an infrared search and track system, or IRST, designed specifically to hunt stealth aircraft by their thermal signatures without emitting any radar pulses. The March 19th strike may impact the F-35's status as a tool of U.S. defense diplomacy. International buyers who are barred from modifying the jet's software may now demand more sovereign control or seek to diversify their fleets with less expensive domestically produced alternatives. The U.S. Air Force is responding to this evolving threat by accelerating the development of collaborative combat aircraft, or CCAs. These are autonomous drones designed to fly alongside the F-35 and take on the most dangerous mission tasks. This marks a shift in air doctrine. The F-35 is transitioning from a frontline striker to a battle management asset, where its primary role is to coordinate a swarm of expendable drones that engage the enemy in high-threat environments. The March 19th strike demonstrates that in modern warfare, the ability to accept losses may be as decisive as stealth. The F-35 remains a highly advanced asset, but it must now be protected by layers of autonomous systems, in a world where the promise of total dominance has been replaced by the reality of a lethal, contested airspace.